Boker Tov, Shavua Tov. Today's daf is Daf Kuf Tes in Ksubas, the final week of Ksubas. So we're going to start at the bottom of Kuf Chesem Beis, the Mishnah. Apostle Moshe Chasna. A man promises money to his son-in-law. Time of the engagement, they make a kedushin, and of course the father-in-law is very generous, and he promises a house and a car and all kinds of stuff. And he went bankrupt. Pashat Lasarego. That's what we call that Pshita Sarego today in Hebrew. And Rashi explains, because what's that lashon of Pashat Lasarego? Stretched out his leg to him. It's as if he said, "Here, that's all I've got. Take the dirt off my feet. I got nothing." Like that's the idea of in Yiddish we say Moshe Zichmech. I go look for. I can't. I got nothing. Or it could be Pashat Lasarego. He says, "Listen, hang me up from the tree upside down and see if you could get anything from me. I got nothing." So what happened? Huh?
Squeeze blood out of the turnip.
Yeah. So you see over here that this is what happened. The guy promised some money, and then there's nothing there. So what do? They're engaged. Says Tanakama, Teishev Ashetal ben Rosha. Let the girl sit there and until her hair turns white. Meaning, tough luck, she's stuck, and the guy doesn't have to marry her. Meaning, they already had kedushin, but he's not going to consummate the marriage and marry her because the father-in-law is not abiding by his agreement, and she could just sit there. He can go marry somebody else, and she'll be an aguna. That's what the Tanakhama says. Admon Omer Arma says no. This is the third halacha that we have in the name of Admon. The two Mishnayos and Amid Beis on Kuf Ches Beis were the first two of Admon. This is the third one of Admon. Remember, he said at the beginning of the parak that Hanan said two halachas, and we said Roani as Admon as Hanan. We had both those were confirmed. Both those halachas were confirmed by whom? By Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, that he says I agree with Hanan. Now we have seven halachas, like seven Mishnayos who bring down halachas of Admon, and yesterday we saw that two of them. Rabbi Gamaliel said Roani as Admon, and here's the third one. Admon says no. The girl could say, "What do you mean?" She could say, "Had I promised the money, okay, then I understand. Make me sit here until my turn. Let me be Yiraguna. I'll sit here till my hair turns white. Meaning, you don't have to marry me. Like my father promised it. What can I do? My father promised the money. I didn't promise the money. Either marry me, oknos, or marry me, oktor, or give me a get. Don't let me stay stuck here." So again, this is the third time, the third halacha that Admon's brought down, the two Mishnayos on yesterday's Daf Hayomi Beis, and this one, Ramulio says, I agree with Admon. That we're going to, just as a preamble, the next four Mishnayos, they're going to bring down other halachas of Admon. We're going to have 2 more today, plus 2 more tomorrow. Those halachas of Admon are not confirmed by Ramulio. So Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai said about the 2 halachas of Hanan, I agree with Hanan. And that's the psak. The first 3 halachas, including this third one that we just learned now, Ramulio says, I agree with Admon, meaning Admon says, don't say that she has to stay as an iguna forever. Either marry me or divorce me. It's not my fault that my father promised the money. And Ramulio agrees with Admon. So the halachas like Admon, let's say in these cases, the first case is questionable because the Tosfos learns the whole kase differently yesterday in Kuf Chesem Beis, the first Mishnah there. But in any case, that's when Mulio says, I agree with Admon. Says the Gemara now, our Mishnah doesn't go like this, like the following Tana. The Tana we learned in a Brisa that the story is slightly differently. There's no machlokes in the case in our Mishnah where the father-in-law promised money, and then he went bankrupt. She could say, listen, Abba Pasach, my father promised me money. What can I do? Don't blame me for what my father did. So there, everybody agrees there that there's nothing you could do. Meaning, the Tanakama also agrees with Admon that she could say, listen, either divorce me or marry me, but it's not my fault. If she promised the money, if she promised the money and she can't fulfill, so he can let her stay in a guna. He can not commit the nisuin, even though there's kedushin. Admon Omer says no. She could say, because She'aba no say no lie. I promised money because I thought my father would help me out. No, so now that my father's not giving money for me, what can I do? That's Admon Shita. And on that, I'm bringing real Ronius I agree with Admon. In other words, if the father promised the money, certainly she could say, she has a valid argument. Everybody agrees she could say either marry me or divorce me. Don't leave me in a guna. The machlokas is if she promised the money, that the Tanakama says tough luck. She promised the money, let her stay in a guna. Whereas Admon says no. She thought the father would help her out. Now that she didn't help her out, either divorce or marry. And Mula says lochas like Admon. Tana. Okay, so that's how the Brisa learns the case, different than our Mishnah, and we paskin like Admon. Tana b'medvar, this is all by an adult girl, of a Tana kofan, but by a young girl, we force. What do we mean we force? It's going on the Brisa that says that the Chacham say, even in that case, in the case where she promised the money, we force her, it's too bad for her, says the Chachamim, says this Brisa now, Tana b'medvar b'medvar by adult girl, by Tana we force. What do we mean we force? Force who? That we force the father to give money. If the odds it would make more sense the other way around. Meaning, by goal, if she promised the money and the father didn't, why should we force the father? The father didn't promise anything. If she's a ketana, then we force the father because the ketana is not responsible. Right, boy? The adult girl made a condition. She didn't fulfill the condition, so it's her tough luck. But by Iktana, then maybe we do force the father. That would make sense. But you say that's only by Iktana, but by Igdol it's different. Medvar, more or by Igdol, but by Iktana it's different. We force. What do we force? It would make sense the other way around. If we force the father, not what I just said, we force the father, makes more sense where the adult girl made a condition. So that's more of a condition. She's responsible. Maybe then the father should fulfill his words. But if the Ketana made a condition, she's 8 years old, and she says, I promised my father's money. Why should we force the father to she doesn't know what she's doing. What she does is not valid. If the Lashon of the Brisa was, when is that? By a Gdola. But by a Ketana, we force the father. Why would you force the father if the Ketana made a deal? Her deal doesn't mean anything. Elam Rava Kofim Bali can get. This is what he means. When he said that's stuff by go by Ketana, we force that if the girl's a Ketana, we force him to give a get. Because if she promised money and she doesn't know what she's doing, you don't say, well, too bad. If she promised money and the father's not forthcoming with the money, we force her to stay single the rest of her life. That's ridiculous. If she's a Ketana, you can't force her. You force the husband to give a get in that case because it's not fair. The husband says, you're not giving me money. Why should I marry her? You didn't fulfill your obligation. But if she's a Ketana, what do you want from her? You can't rely on her words. If she's a Gdola, okay, then you can understand the Chachamim Shita that they say, well, she made a deal. She didn't come up with the money. Let her stay single the rest of her life, meaning she's stuck. She had Kedushin and there's no Nisuin. The husband can marry other people when time when polygamy was okay. And it's her tough luck because she made a deal she can't abide by. But if it's a Ketana, we force her to give a get. That's even in the Chacham Shita, but according to Admon says she could say, I thought my father would help out anyway. And Ramliel went like Admon in all cases. Wherever Ramliel says, Admon, that I agree with Admon, Halach Kamos says, Lach is like him. Even when he said that on the Brisa, after all, we had the two Mishnayos yesterday on Amid Beis, and we had today the Mishnah and the Brisa. And in the Brisa, Admon was talking about even a case where she made the deal, not where the father made the deal. Not that the father promised money, she promised the money. Still, Admon says yes, but she thought that her father would be forthcoming with the money, and he wasn't. Still, we say, give a get or marry her. Don't force her to stay single. Yeah, did I say in the Mishnah? Come in, and I said wherever Gamliel says Allah is like Admon, Allah is like Admon. Now listen carefully. The two things that Hanan said, halacha ki yotzevo. The halacha is like the one who follows his view. Remember, we said the first two Mishnahs in this parak. Hanan said his halachas, right? Yeah, the first Mishnah, the very first Mishnah in the parak that talked about guy went overseas and she demanded the mazonos. Remember, we said, does she have to swear for the mazonos? Admon said no, and the Chacham or the Bnei Kohanim said she does have to swear. even from the Mazonos, not only for Ksub at the end, if you heard that he died, but even from the Mazonos, there was one halacha that Admon said. Then we had the second halacha that Admon said. What was that we learned at the bottom of Friday's daf? If a man went overseas and somebody on his own, a good Samaritan, supported his wife, does the husband have to pay him or not? There again, Admon said, tough luck. He didn't ask him to do it. It's not a loan. Said those two halachas like Hanan and like Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, who said that what Hanan said is good. The halacha is like, so we say over here, Sh'amar Hanan, halacha is like the one who follows him, meaning the halacha is like Hanan. Shiva dvarim Sh'amar Admon, but the 7 things that Admon said, 3 of which we've learned now, we've learned the 3rd one today, 4 more forthcoming. Ein halacha ki yoseba. The halacha is not like the one who follows him. Now, what do we mean by that? My kamar, what do you mean like the one who follows him? Ilay mochi kamar. This is what you meant. Shnei dvarim Sh'amar Hanan. The 2 things that Hanan said, halacha kamoso ki yoseba. V'shiva dvarim Sh'amar Admon. Ein halacha kamoso v'lo ki yoseba. Is that what you mean to say? That the 2 things that Hanan said, the halacha is like Hanan and the one who follows his view. When I say follows his view, we mean Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai and Hanan, and we mean Rav Gamliel, who follows Admon. Rav Gamliel is one who says in these last 3 Mishnayos, I agree with Admon. Rowan is Admon. So is that what you mean to say? This is how Rashi learns the pshat of Kiyotzebo. Tosfos learns different, that it's Kiyotzebo means similar cases, not the one who follows him. Tosfos learns the Gemara a little bit differently. Is that what you mean to say? That the 7 things that Admon said, the halacha is not like him and not the one who follows him? We just have wherever Gamliel says, I agree with Admon, halacha kamoso, the halacha is like him. So how could you say that the 7 things that Admon said, the halacha is not like him, nor like the one who follows his view? This is what it means. The 2 things that Hanan said, the first 2 Mishnayos in the parak, the halacha is like him and the one who follows his view, Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai. Shiva, according to Rashi, Shiva dvarim she'amar, we're at the first little wide lines now. Shiva dvarim she'amar Admon enoch kiyosebo. The 7 things that Admon said, the halacha is not like the one who follows his view. Who follows his view? Admon? Rabbi Gamliel, we just said. Gamliel says that. The halacha is not like the one who follows him. Hakamoso halacha b'kulu. But the halacha is like him in all cases. Meaning, Rabbi Gamliel says in the first 3 Mishnayos that we've just learned, the 2 yesterday on Amid Beis and the 1 today, Rabbi Gamliel says, following all 3 shitas of Admon, Roa Anias Divrei Admon. In the next 4 Mishnayos that we're going to learn, 2 of which are in today's daf and 2 of which are tomorrow, Admon says other halachas, and there Rabbi Gamliel does not say like him. So maybe that's what he means to say. The 2 things that Hanan said, the halacha is like Hanan, and the one who went like him. The 7 things that Admon said, the halacha is not like the one who followed his view, meaning Rabbi Gamliel, but Rabbi Gamliel said the halacha is like Admon only in 3 cases, not the other 4, but rather the halacha is like Admon in all 7 cases. See, Rabbi Gamliel said, I agree with Admon in 3 cases. I don't agree with him in the other ones. But now what he's saying is the halacha is not like the one who follows his view, who said, that's Rabbi Gamliel who says the halacha is like him in 3, not the other ones, but rather the halacha is like him in all cases. We just had it a minute ago. Wherever Gamliel says halacha is like him, Omar ein, lo Omar lo. The halacha is like Admon only if Gamliel said the halacha is like him, that I agree with Gamliel, but in the other cases not. So how could you say that you want to say that the halacha is like Hanan and Admon in all the cases of our Mishnayos? Hanan like Hanan and Rav Meir Shapiro, and the halacha is like Admon in all 7 cases, not like Gamliel who said the halacha is like him in 3 out of the 7, but the halacha is like Admon in all cases. But that's not the case because Rabbi Yosef said in Chizkiah, wherever Gamliel said halacha is like Admon, then halacha is like Admon. But if he didn't say halacha is like Admon, halacha is not like him. This is what he meant to say. The 2 halachas that Hanan said, the halacha is like Hanan and like Rabbi Zakkai who followed him, who followed his view and agreed with Hanan. The 7 things that Admon said, Yesh mehen halacha shekamos. So there's some of those halachas like him, ukiyos, and the one who followed his view. Yesh men she'ein halacha kamoso, and there's some that the halacha is not like him. Ella kiyotzevo. The halacha is not like him, but rather, if you have the girsa ella kamos like an argument, ella kiyotzevo, I mean halacha is like Gamliel, that one who said the halacha is like Admon in first 3 cases, not in the last 4. So that's what he means to say. Now, there's different gears of Kiyosaba. That goes like with Tosashita, that Kiyosaba does not mean the one who followed his view of Gamliel, but rather is referring to similar cases. Where the three cases that we had, two of yesterday and one of today, that the halacha is like Admon, where Gamliel said that, the halacha is like Admon. Enoch, the other four cases that we're going to have starting in a minute, the next four cases which we're going to have, those halacha is not like Admon. So again, the first two cases, Hanan said it's halacha, and Nachman Zaki said, I agree with him. The halacha is like him. The first three cases of Admon, there's 7 cases of Admon, 7 Mishnayos. The first three that we learned until now, Admon said his halacha, and Gamliel said, I agree with him. Yes, the halacha is like Admon in those 3 cases where Gamliel went like him. The other 4 cases that we're going to have starting now, the next line, starting the 4th Mishnah, where Admon's brought down, the halacha is not like Admon. There, Gamliel doesn't say, I agree with Admon, and the halacha, therefore, is not like Admon. What are those 4 cases? So the first 2 we'll see today, maybe we'll see the other ones also. A man contests a field. Let's understand this case, the way we'll say it, the way Rashi says it. What happened over here? Reuven comes to Shimon and says, you're on my land. You're on my land. Get off. He has proof that the land once belonged to him, but he says, you're on my land now. Shimon says, I bought it from Levi. I bought it from Levi. What do you want from me? I bought it from Levi. Seems to be a pretty good argument here. There's an argument by there, right? He says, yeah, maybe it was once your land, but I brought it from Levi. Okay, so what happens here? When Shimon says, I bought it from Levi, listen to the case carefully again. Reuven says to Shimon, you're on my land. Shimon says, I bought it from Levi. Not only did I buy it from Levi, but you're one of the 2 Adam who signed on it that I bought it from Levi. When he has a star, Shimon has a star that he bought it from Levi, and one of the 2 witnesses who signed to the deal is Reuven himself. So how could Reuven now come and say, you're on my land? You yourself signed the document that Levi sold it to Shimon. Okay. So Admon says, listen, you know what? You know why I signed? I wanted it to go from Levi, who stole it from me. He stole it from me and he sold stolen property to you. I wanted it to end up in your hands because you're an easy mark. I can get it from you. You're not such a tough guy. I'll fight you and I'll get it. Levi, he's a tough guy. If I start with him, he's got the mafia and all that. I don't want to start with him. Is that a good argument? Admon says it is. Even though Reuven signed on the document saying that Levi sold it to Shimon. He says, yeah, I signed on it because this guy's a crook. I can't start up with him. I wanted it to go into your hands. I want to get my land back. And I wanted it to go into your hands. That's what Admon says. Chacham says, no, even as chuso. Once Reuven signed on the document saying that Levi sold it to Shimon, he effectively gave up his claim. Because he said, yeah, it's going to Shimon, from Levi's going to Shimon. Okay, that's the machlokas here. And here we don't go like Admon. This is the 4th case, the 4th of 7 cases that Admon said is halacha. Again, they're brought down because the first case is referred to cases that we're dealing with in ksubas. This isn't really a case of ksuba, right? Same thing with the 2nd case of Admon. And the 3rd case, Pasuk Mos, is, you could say that is sort of like a ksuba, but not all the cases of Admon are referring to ksubas, but it's brought down because these are the 7 cases that Admon gave as halacha. And again, Gamliel went like him in the first 3, not in the last 4, and this is the 4th one here. This is the 4th case. Also, similar. Okay, let's say, so again, Admon says that I haven't lost my claim. If I'm Reuven and I say, Shimon, you're on my land, and Levi sold it to you, even though I signed on that document, I signed on it just to get it out of Levi's hands. I wanted to get it to you because you're an easier mark. However, let's say, also similar. Let's say Reuven signed on a different document. Shimon was selling a second field, a neighboring field, to somebody else. So let's say Yehuda. He was selling a neighboring field to Yehuda. And how did he delineate the field? In those days, you delineated the field. Today they have surveys and they have degrees and X number of feet from the street and all kinds of things like that. There they delineated by saying you're on Yankel's field. It's borders with Yankel's field and Shmerel's field and all that kind of stuff. So he said, if he made a siman, he sold it to a different person, and he marked Shimon sold it to a different person, a laboring field, and Shimon says it borders my field, the field in question that Reuben was contesting. It borders my field, and Reuben signed on that document. Then even Admon agrees that Reuben has lost his his claim. Because in the first case, Reuben says, yeah, I want my field to go to you because I can't fight with Levi who stole it from me. So I want it to go to you. In this case, Shimon was selling a different field, a neighboring field. And he referred to the demarcation line, the boundary of the line that he's selling the new field to, borders on my field, on this field of Shimon, called Shimon's field, that Reuben's contesting it now. And Reuben signed on that document. There, Reuben has lost his chus. That's what the pshat over here is in this. So here, even Admon's mother, Amar Abaya. So when a person says, even Admon, who says that, or according to Chum, that he's lost his chus, Chum say that if Reuben signed on the document, whether it's the first case or the second case, either way he's lost his chus. Amar Abaya, Loshan Alei, that's only if he was a witness on the document. Aval dayan lo. Now, what happens when you have a document, either a loan or a bill of sale, Adam sign on it saying that they're signing that the event took place, right? When you say Kedushin, you go to a wedding and they're signing that the Kedushin took place. That's what they're signing on. When judges confirm a document, they're not signing, they're not agreeing to what took place. They're not witnesses to what took place. All they're judging is that they're saying there's a document comes up, a bill of sale or a loan or some other document, a mortgage of some sort. And it comes to the court, and the litigants are contesting whether it's valid or not. One says it's forged or it was paid back already, and the other says, no, it's valid. So the first thing Bezdin has to do is confirm that it was a valid document, that it's not a forgery. How do they do that? By getting the Adam who signed on it to come and say, yeah, these are our signatures. We signed that. But they're not, the judges aren't confirming what took place. So in our Mishnah, when we say that, according to the Chachamim, we pass like the Chacham in this case, that when Reuben signed that Levi sold the field to, that Levi sold the field to Shimon, he wasn't, he was giving up his claim because he said Levi sold the field to Shimon, and he signed on it. He can't say, I was just trying to get into your hands like Admon says, but rather he gave up his claim. That's only if he signed on it as a witness. But if he was a judge who in front of in the judge's court, this document was confirmed, that doesn't mean that he gave up on his claim. In other words, if one of the judges, if Reuben was one of the judges, and he confirmed the shtar, he's not giving up his claim because he doesn't even know what's written in the document. When a judge confirms when judges, usually court of three, confirm a document, they're not reading the document and saying, oh, yeah, this took place. All they're saying is that this document came to us, Adam came in front of us and confirmed these are the signatures. So it's a confirmed document. But they're not confirming what took place. They're not witnesses. So the Gemara said, Amar Abaya, lo shanala eight, aval dayan lo. A dayan has lo iber es chusa. He didn't lost his chus. If Reuven, who claims the field now from Shimon, remember saying that Levi stole it from him, he didn't sign on the document on the bill of sale. He signed on the confirmation in court. Then he hasn't lost his chus. The Tanur Abchia, ein Adam chos mal shtar elen ken karu. Adam only sign a shtar unless they read it and they know what they're signing. They tell you, can you just sign over here? I'd like to read what I'm signing to, because you're responsible. If you're signing as a witness, you're responsible for what's written in the document. It says, we saw this take place. Yeah, you have to confirm that it took place. At the top of the days, Dayanim could sign even though they didn't read it, because they're not signing to what took place. They're not confirming to what the shtar says took place, the loan or the sale. All they're saying is that the document was confirmed as a valid document because the Adam who were signed on it say, yeah, these are our signatures. So it's a valid document. We don't know what took place. All we're saying is that the document is not a forgery. So if Reuven was one of the judges, in that case, he hasn't lost his claim, even though the document says that Shimon sold the field to Levi. And Reuven says, no, it's my field. Levi stole it from me. The judge hasn't lost his claim to it because he could say, I didn't read what was in the document. I didn't sign. I didn't attest to the sale taking place. In the last case, we said that even Admon agrees that if Shimon sold a neighboring field to somebody else, and Reuben signed on that document, and he delineated the boundary of the field by his own field, Shimon's field, and Reuben signed on that, then Reuben actually admits it. Lo shanalach, if he sold it to a third person like Yehuda or Shmerel, aval atzmo, but let's say he sold it to Reuven. Let's say, remember, Reuben is contesting Shimon's field. Shimon's selling a neighboring field. If he's selling the neighboring field to Reuven, and he says, you know which field I'm selling to you? The one that borders on my field. And Reuben didn't protest. because Reuben says really that's his field. The first field is also his. So there, Avalatzmo, lo ibed, as he hasn't lost his chus. Why hasn't he lost his chus? Hasn't he admitted that the first field is Shimon's? Lo. The Amar, lo, the Avdilai, had I not agreed to that wording in the document, right? Like, you hear all these documents, or they're making a deal with Lebanon on the gas, and what wording was put in, was it not put in? Do they agree to that this is the international boundary or not? They're taking words in a document are important. When you sign a document, though, that's why you have lawyers to check everything, right? So he says, look, he said, and the Mishnah said that if Shimon has a field, Reuben's contesting that field. Shimon sold a neighboring field to somebody else, and Reuben signed on that other document. And in that document, it says that what's this other field, this neighboring field? It borders on Shimon's field. Why would Reuben sign on that? Why would Reuben sign on that document? If he signed on that, that means he's admitting that Shimon's field is really Shimon's and it's not Reuben's, so he can't contest. However, if the neighboring field he sold was to Reuben himself, Reuben is buying a field from Shimon, and Shimon says, you know what the neighboring field borders on? My field, Shimon's field. But Reuben doesn't agree that that's Shimon's field. He says that's Reuben's. It's still okay. Reuben hasn't lost his claim. Why? At least according to Admon, right? Amar Abai lo shana el la'achar aval atzmo lo, he hasn't lost his. Why? The Amar de lo avdile, had I not agreed to sign, even though Shimon is demarcating the second field as bordering on Shimon's field, and I needed mine, he wouldn't have sold it to me. I'm trying to buy the neighboring field, and I'm still going to contest the original field. But why did I allow in the neighboring field to be demarcated as neighboring on Shimon's field, even though I don't agree that's Shimon's field? Had I not agreed to it, he wouldn't have sold me the neighboring field. I didn't want to start up with him at that point. What do you want to say? I should have told the witnesses, you know what? Even though I'm signing that the new field is bordering on Shimon's field, I don't agree it's Shimon's field. It's really my field. Had I said that, the word would have gotten back to Shimon that I'm protesting, and he wouldn't have sold the field. Your friend has a friend, and your friend's friend has a friend, right? Your friend has a friend, and his friend has another friend, and it would have gotten back to him, and he wouldn't have sold me the field. Right? So therefore, and that seems to be the halacha. So even though we said that Admon and the Chacham agree in the original claim, right? The original case where Shimon bought a field from Levi, and Reuben is contesting it, and he's saying that it's really mine, but even though I signed on the document, I wanted to get it to your hands. But if he made a simon for somebody else, then he's lost his chus, and that's according to everybody, even according to Admon. If he made it as a simon for someone else, but if he made it a simon for himself, if Reuben himself was buying the neighboring field, and Shimon says you're bordering the new field that you're buying is bordering Shimon's field, even though Reuben doesn't agree to it, that's okay. Reuben can still contest it because he only signed on it so that Shimon should sell him the neighboring field, but he's still going to make his claim on the first field. That's a valid claim. Case was like that, where a man made Reuben, let's say, signed on a field that Shimon was selling to somebody else, so on a neighboring field, and Reuben still wanted to make a claim on the original field, even though the new field was considered in the document was considered bordering on Shimon's field, and Reuben signed on that. And now Reuben protested. He contested the original field, and then he died. They set up a guardian. The court set up a guardian for the Yorshim, for the kids. Also, Petrupas came for Abaya. Abaya said, listen, the Mishnah said that if Reuben signed on a field, again, Reuben is protesting Shimon's field, but he didn't come to him and just say, Stam, oh, the field that you bought from Levi was mine, and I signed on that document to get it into your hands. No, here we're talking about where the second case, where Shimon sold a neighboring field to somebody else, and he said this new field, the neighboring field, borders on my field, and Reuben signed on that document. Reuben was just an aide over here. Why did Reuben sign that document? He lost his chus, and that's what happened over here too. Reuben signed on the field, then Reuben died, and they set up a guardian. The guardian came before Abaye to make a claim on behalf of the Orshim that Shimon's field really belongs to Reuben's family. And he said, so Abaye quoted the Mishnah. So said the guardian, Yeah, but in the Asmakaim, had the father been here, had he been alive, you know what he would have claimed? He would have said, when I signed on the document, and I said that the second field, the new field that Shimon is selling to Yehuda, and in the document it says that this new field borders on Shimon's land, but not the whole field. He's got one furrow over there. He's got one furrow that borders on his furrow, so to speak, just on a little strip, not on the whole field. That's what he would have argued. Rav Shapiro coming, you got a good point. If the guy would have said, listen, yeah, I did agree that it borders on your land, but how much land? How much land? Not the whole field, only on one furrow. Then when he's believed, okay, you're right. Guardians, you're right. And that's a good argument. But you have to allow Shimon. And again, now we're talking about where this claim that it's his field. What's the claim over here? Shimon's on the field. Reuben's family, Reuben originally claimed before he died that it was his field, and he had proof of that. He showed that it was originally his field, but it was stolen from him. Right? So he said, okay, you're right. You have a valid claim, it was yours originally, but you admit, since you wrote in the document, you signed on the document that this new field borders on Shimon's field, so you agree that he's got at least something there. He's at least got a strip, so give him that strip. Okay. On that strip, the story happened on that strip that was a very valuable strip. It had a whole row of good saplings, of good trees. And he didn't want to give that up. So the guardian further said, if the father would have been alive now, he would have made the following claim. This is what he would have argued. You're right. I originally agreed that this second field bordered on Shimon's land. And I've told you it was only one strip. But after that, after he bought it from me, I bought it back from him. Yeah, it was his field. Agree it was his, but I bought back that strip. So Abai said, you're right about that too. If I say now that I went back and I bought that strip from him, then he's believed. Now why is he believed? The guy just says I bought it from him. Because Rashi explains it's Peshas or Pesha Hitter. Because what happened over here? How do you know it's Shimon's field? Reuven had proof that this field originally belonged to him. He had aided to that. That's what we're speaking about. Reuben originally said, this field that Shimon's claiming originally belonged to me. Why does he have a claim now that it's his? That he bought it from Levi, who stole it from Reuven? Why is that a claim? Because Reuven signed on a document that said that this new field, the second field that Shimon sold Yehuda, is neighboring on Shimon's field. So it's like Yehuda's own. It's like Reuben's own admission. Reuben has proof that the field originally belonged to him, but he admitted that it's Shimon's now, right? It's only my admission because I signed on another document which referred to your feet, which referred to this new document as bordering, the new field as bordering on Shimon's field. So it was only my admission that allowed you to keep it. Yeah, but also I admitted that it was his field for a while, but I bought it back from him. So it's Peshas or Pesha Hitter. So that's what the guardian claimed. Amar Abai said, "Hi man, the mukam up a truppa. If you set up a guardian, nukum ki hai. Get a guardian like this guy. The Yada who knows how to argue in the favor of the Yisomim. This is a good guardian. He knows how to argue. Get a guardian like this. Meaning, the way our Mishnah reads, our Mishnah says if you made a simon, if Reuben made a simon for somebody else, Shimon sold the neighboring field to Yehuda, and Reuben signed on that document saying that it was it was neighboring on Shimon's field. He admitted that it's Shimon's field. Then he's lost his chus. However, if he says I only admitted to one strip, or I bought back that strip, Peshas or Peshita, that's a good argument. Misha says the Mishnah. This is now, we're up to the fifth case of Admon. We had the first two on Amid Beis yesterday. Then we had the third one was really today's Mishnah, right? The top of the page, the bottom last line of Kuf Chav and Beis Dapim. Then we had the fourth one on Amid Aleph now, if you contested a field. Now we have another case of Admon. This would be number 5. Remember, in number 4, 5, 6, and 7, Ramilil did not say the halacha is like him, only in the first 3. Mishal Nirsim, man were overseas, man had a field, and he went and he had access to his field. It was bordered by other fields, but he had access. He had a what we call in English an easement. We used to call that an easement or some sort of a sidewalk that allowed him to go into his field. He had this path, but he went overseas. And you know what happens over a period of time? The field, the path that he had got obliterated. People walked on it. The other owners, it wasn't used. If you don't use it, other people take it over. That's what happens, right? So here's a man went overseas. The Ibn Derech say he lost the path that led to his field. He lost it because other people live around there now. Adman says, Yelech lo b'ktsara, take the shortest route. Even though other people have fields around your field, but take the shortest one, whichever is the shortest route. You have to, don't take the long route, take the short route that belongs to you. But Chacham say, no, you can go derech me'amana. Who are you going to take it from? Other people have fields around your field. Who are you going to say, which one are you going to go to say, Reuben, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda? You're going to go to them and say, Reuben, give me your from now. Reuben say no. If you had a path, it was in Shimon's. Shimon's going to say, go to Levi, go to Yehuda, go to somebody else. So either buy a right back, the right to your path, you should buy back for $10,000, or take a helicopter, fly there yourself. In other words, you have no access to your field. Your field is blocked by other fields, and you don't know where your path is. So you have no choice. Either buy it back for whatever they demand, or take a helicopter to get there. That's the machlokas here. And again, the chachamim are the halachas like the chachamim. My time Rabbanan, what's the reason why the Rabbanan say that? Shafakam Avin, why can't Avin say, I'll take the shortest route? Why not take the shortest one? It wasn't surrounded by one person. One person didn't have all four. Let's say there were 4 fields or 5 fields bordering on his field that surrounded it. If it was one person who owned all of them, so you could argue, listen, wherever it is, I had a path on your field somewhere. Give me a path, whatever path you want, the shortest one, the longest one, give me a path. If it was one person, yes. But here it's speaking about where 4 different people owned it. Let's say on four people owned fields on the 4 sides. So each one could say, go to the other guy. What do you want from me? How do you know your field? How do you know your path was on my field? So what's Admon's reason? Why does Admon say take the shortest one? What is Admon's reason? Rav explained what it is. If 4 people are here and they bought it from 4 different people, 4 people own it now, and they in turn bought it from 4 different people, or they had it forever, or there was originally one guy who owned all the fields around your field, but he sold it to 4 different people. But you're going now to fight or to argue against 4 people because you say I have a path in my field here somewhere on you 4 guys. You use 4 guys. Use 4 guys. One of you has a path. Give me a path amongst you. Everybody agrees with the Chacham. Even Admon agrees that each one could say, listen, don't come to me, go to the other guy. How do you know your path was on my field, right? Because there are 4 different owners. Keep pligi, where's the argument? Originally, it belonged to 4 different people. Listen carefully. Originally, it belonged to 4 different people. If it belonged all to one guy, so if all the fields surrounding this guy's field, who went overseas, belonged to one guy, so you could say, listen, give me a path. I had a path on your land. Give it to me somewhere. I don't care where. Everybody agrees with that too. And if he agrees to, if the 4 people who own it came because of 4 people, or they bought it from one guy, again, each of the 4 could say, go to the other guy. Here we're speaking about one guy owns all 4 fields now. One guy owns it, but he bought it from 4 different people. Adman Saber and Mikol Malcolm Dak is the Gavach. The fact is, you own all the fields around my field. I definitely had a path in your field. That's how I used to get to my field. You have to give me a path. Rabbanan say no. If shakas, if you're quiet and don't make a fuss, I'll give it to you for a reasonable price. I'm not going to demand $10,000. I'll give it for a reasonable price. Elo, if you want to demand it for free, I will give all the fields back to the people that I bought it from, claiming, listen, it was a mekach toos, you sold me a field that had somebody else's path on it. You won't be able to argue with them, because if you have to go to 4 different people, right, you don't know where your path was. It was on the field of one of these 4. Each one will say it was on the other guys. So that's a chacham shita. So that's and we go like a chacham. Pardon?
Who does the path? Who owns the path?
Okay, he had. Let's say he owns the path. He owned the path.
He owned it, and he just had permission.
No, he had. Let's say he owned it. Let's say he owned it. But he doesn't know where the path is now. He doesn't know where the path is. It was obliterated. It was a small path, and there were fields all around. He doesn't know. If 4 people own it now, the four fields around his, Each one could say, what are you coming to me for? Go to the other guy, right? And if one guy owns all the fields, he could say, definitely was in your land, give me a path. I definitely had a path in yours. But here it's speaking about where one guy bought it from four different people. Admon says, okay, but it's Lamaisa, my path was somewhere in your territory. Give me a path. The Chum say, listen, you want to pay me a reasonable price, pay me. If you don't want to, I'm going to give all four fields back to four different guys, and then you'll have no argument against. You won't be able to get it at all. That's the sheet of the Chacham. A story. Hauda Amar Ladikla Lebros. A man said on his dying bed, he said, the boys are going to inherit everything, but I want to give one tree I'm giving to my daughter. One tree I'm giving to my daughter. Okay. Also, Yasmi Pogna said the Yisomim went, and let's say there were four brothers or five boys. They divided up all the assets. They didn't give her a tree. But she's entitled to a tree somewhere. So Rabbi Yosef wanted to say, Haina Mastis, that's the same as our Mishnah. What did our Mishnah say? That, it's too bad for her. Like the case of the guy who had the path. He doesn't know where his path is. She doesn't know where her tree is, right? The father had said, I'm giving you a tree. The boys went and took all the fields. The tree was there was trees, let's say, on some of the fields, but they divided up and they didn't give her a tree. When she wanted to go to a tree, they said, go to the other brother. He's got a tree in his field. That's what Rabbi Yosef wanted to say. Amalei Abai said, no, it's not the same. In the case of our Mishnah, where the four fields surrounded this guy's field, you could say, how do you know that the field was, that the path was on my field? Maybe it was on the other field. But over here, the tree definitely is by these boys. When the father gave on his deathbed, said, I want the tree to go to my daughter, it was in all his territory. And she had the rights to it. My tikantai, what should you do? So how do you fix that now? In other words, at the time of the tzavah, when he said that, all the nechasim were on one field, right? It all belonged to the father. The father said, give her a tree. He didn't say which one. In other words, in the case of the path was really on one of the four fields that surrounded it. You don't know which one. Each one could say it was the other one. But in the case of the tree, where the father gave a tree to his daughter, it was definitely in the area, in the whole estate. It was somewhere on the estate. And therefore, all of them who split in the estate had an obligation to give her the tree. So what's the solution? He didn't identify. He said, give her a tree. Give her a tree. What's the takana? But give her a tree there. Give her a tree in my estate. But she's entitled to a tree from the estate. And the estate belonged to all of them eventually. Okay, so he said, no, give her a tree. He didn't say, he said, give her a tree. He didn't say necessarily which tree. He said, give her a tree. Dikkel lebras. He didn't say which tree. If he said which tree, then you would have known it's tree number 8. He gave that sort of, there wouldn't have been any argument over here. He said, give her a tree. But when he said, give her a tree from the estate, and the estate goes to all of them. So they all had an obligation to give it to her. In the case of 4 fields owned by 4 different people, so each one could say, how do you know your path was in my field? Maybe the path was in the other guy's field. But in the case of the tree, they can't say, how do you know the tree is in my land that I took from the father, from when we split up the estate? The tree was in the estate, and the estate, everybody, all the sons had an obligation to give her a tree from the estate. So what's the solution? Matika, how do you fix it? Let her give her a tree, then split it up. First, give her a tree, as the father wished, mitzvah l'kaim divrei emes. You have to agree with what he said, and he maybe he gave it to her even before he died, even if it's not mitzvah l'kaim divrei emes. Give her the tree, and then split it up. That's the solution. Another story, having dikla lebras. A man said, giving a tree to my daughter, Shachavi died, Vishavik trey palge de dikla. And he left over 2 half trees. What does it mean, 2 half trees? He had a partnership in 2 different trees with Yankel. The father owned 2 trees together with Yankel. Yes, Ravashi, this is called that a tree. In other words, he had many other trees. The Yisomim wanted to give her those 2 half trees. The man owned 100 trees, and then he owned 2 half trees, meaning he owned them in partnership with somebody else. The Yisomim didn't want to deal with their partners. You don't deal with partners. So they wanted to give her the 2 half trees, the share in the other trees that the father owned with the partner. So that's what he wanted to say. So Rashi was clear. Do people call, when the father said, I want to give her a tree, did he mean only a whole tree, or did he mean 2 half trees that he had? Olo, or not. When he sees a tree doesn't mean 2 half trees. Amalei Rav Mordechai, Rav Ashi, Hachikamer Abim Emergrin. That's what he said. B'shmei derava. Come into the tree. People do call 2 half trees a tree. In other words, might say, I want to give her a tree that I own. He owns 2 half trees. That's also a tree, and therefore the Yisomim could get away with giving her the 2 half trees because that's also a tree. You go by the lashon. Hamotzi shtar chol b'chavero. A man, listen to this. Reuven says to Shimon, here's a Yomi $100, right? It's got a star. I owe you Yomi $100. V'hala hotzi shemachalo asasara. And now listen to this. Late, so Shimon, who owes Reuven $100, says, "Wait a minute, I got another document. I paid you that back. I paid you that back because I have another document that says that you sold me a field for $100." Listen to this. Reuven is owed $100 by Shimon, and Shimon has a document which says that he bought a field for $100 from Reuven. Subsequent to that, Adlon says Yachalu Shiomer Lo. So and Shimon is denying that he owes $100. He says, "Listen, had I owed you the $100, why would you have sold me a field for $100? When I gave you the $100 for the field, you would have just kept that as the money that I owe you, right?" I deny that I owe you the money. Either it was a forged document. This IOU was either forged or I paid you back already, whatever his argument was. Had I owed you the money, why would you have sold me a field for $100? You gave me the field. Why would you have sold me a field for $100? If I owed you $100, right, and you come and I want to buy your field for $100, you would take the $100 as the payment for the IOU and say goodbye. I'm not giving you a field. You should have been paid other parshacha. When you sold me the field, you should have taken your $100 back. This is the Chomer knows. He was a smart guy. You know why he told that? Because I know it's going to be hard collecting from you the $100. Reuben could say, I knew it was going to be hard collecting the $100, so I sold you a field and got the $100 that way. Because give me the field, and now I can come and claim back the $100 when I want to collect my money. I could take the field back because I have something to go against. What if I would just tell you? If I would just tell you, give me the $100, you would say, I don't have it handy. I don't have any cash. You can't find it. You can't get anything. But by giving you a field, by selling you a field, and you paid for the field, okay, so you have the field. But now when I want to collect my loan, I have what to go against because I have a field. My time at Rabbanan, Shapir Kamab, did not say good. Had I owed you the money, you would have taken the money. It says, you're right. I won't be right in a place where people first pay the money for the field and then they write the star. So he could have said, so Shimon could say, listen, if I owe you the money, when I gave you the money for the field, you should have just kept that $100, right? If somebody says, right, a guy goes, you owe me $100 and I'm trying to collect. And I say, I'll sell you a field for $100. When you give me the $100, I say, oh, that's for the loan. That's my cash, that's my money. I would have said that if you normally pay first. Right? You should have taken your money back. Had this really been an IOU, it's been valid. You should have taken your money back when you sold me the field. Keep pleading where the argument is, but Asher the cost of Shtara, where they first write a star, but first they write out the bill of sale. That's what usually they do. They write out the bill of sale, they write the contract, and then he gives the money. The guy who was writing, he should have said, listen, I'm only announcing. I should have told the Adam who signed her. In other words, he could have said, then if you pay the money cash first, yes, then he should have taken the money. But in another place, if the father, what Adam is saying is the owner, the guy who's selling the field now, right? Reuben sold Shimon the field, Shimon sold the field. He should have said to witnesses, I'm only selling it to him so I should be able to have something to collect from, right? He should have told them, I'm only selling it to him for that reason. And since he didn't say that, Shimon could say, no, since you didn't take the money back, when you wrote the document, the money was for the IOU, you sold me the field, and your IOU is invalid. For Rabbanan say, no, Chav is late. The owner would be afraid to say that. Because the Adam will tell somebody else, but Chav is late. The other guy will find out, and in other words, when Reuben is afraid he won't be able to collect the $100, right? So he says, you know what? I'll sell you a field for $100. You give me the $100 now, and now I'll collect the IOU later on. So Adlon says, if that would be a valid argument, he should have told somebody, I'm only selling it to him to have what to collect from. But Rabbanan say, no, you're afraid to say that because the guy will find out about it and he won't give him the $100. Reuben's trying to get his $100 back from Shimon, right? So he says, I'll sell you a field. And then he gets the $100 for the field, right? He gets $100 for the field. And then when he wants to collect the IOU, he can go back and claim the field. And therefore the Chum say, that's a valid, it's a smart guy. Reuben was smart, he's a pikeach. And therefore, Shimon's claim, what's Shimon claim? That, I don't owe you the IOU, that it's either forged or that I paid you back, because otherwise you wouldn't have sold me the field. When I gave you the $100, you wouldn't have sold when you wrote the deal. If the money is first, then for sure it's Admon's right. If the money is getting made before they sign the shtar, then as soon as you give them the $100, you should have said, yeah, that's the IOU. I'm not giving you any field. But if they write the bill of sale first for the shtar, that's the argument. Admon says, if that was your argument that you're only selling it to give me what to claim, that I should have what to claim from, he should have told the witnesses. Rabbanan say no. If he told the witnesses, they'll find out about it, and therefore Reuben has a good argument, and the IOU is valid. He can collect it. He can collect the field based on that IOU. All right, we'll pick up this mission tomorrow. Shnaim Shotzi Ushtaf Zel. This is a similar thing. This is going to be which one? The sixth case, right? This is going to be the sixth case of Admon, or the seventh case. We're up to the seventh case already. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's going to be the seventh case. The seventh case where each guy has an IOU and the other guy. What do you do in that case?